I guess this is as close to perfection as you can possibly get. Hello everybody, my name is Max and welcome to my YouTube channel. And today is going to be sort of a part 2 of that video that I produced not a long time ago. I talked about a Tamron 20-40mm f2.8 lens for Sony E-mount, and I expressed my personal opinions about that lens, physics or mechanics of that lens, and I really appreciate your feedback and comments. There was a lot of a reaction. I was not really expecting that. So since I didn't like certain aspects of that lens and I basically sold it, got rid of it. So that lens was used on two cameras. One is this one here in front of you on my desk, and the other one I'm using to film this video and the previous videos and many of other videos. So since I don't have that lens anymore, you might wonder what I'm using for this camera, and this was on it. This actually I bought this Sony. This is an f4 full frame power zoom lens, 16-35mm, and I guess I really didn't want to get any other lenses for this camera setup because this is a power zoom and the range 16-35 for a full frame is basically what you need, all that you need if you want to just do any vlogging or filming or whatever for your personal projects. And this is a perfect fit. It's got everything that you really need in a lens, I guess. And I guess what I'm trying to say that this lens matches this camera perfectly, except that of that f4, which is a little bit too dark. When you're in a dark situation, sometimes you cannot add light. In any case, since I don't have that lens anymore, it was 2.8 f2.8, so that was kind of helpful in a couple of different situations. And my APS-C camera doesn't has a basically a 24mm lens on it, and it's not a zoom lens, so I kind of don't like it because in some situations I need to really zoom in. Well, occasionally I would need to zoom in on something that I have in front of the camera, so that's a temporary solution. Well, I have a solution for that solution. In any case, I think this lens, what I'm trying to say, this lens is going to stay here on this camera, and until I find something that can work in dark better than this f4. But like I said, this is a perfect match. This lens is a perfect match to this camera, and if this was a permanently attached lens, I would not really have any issues or complaints, except like I said, it's an f4, so that's not always enough light, I guess, hitting this sensor. But otherwise everything is just well, is good on this lens, and I really don't have any complaints as far as the mechanics go. Everything just nice and smooth, and there's no any grinding noises, nothing really. It's a good lens. But let's get back to Tamron lenses. I have a box here, so like I said, I don't have that 20-40mm lens anymore. I mean, I would have kept it, but I just didn't like some aspects of that lens, and I decided to give a chance to Tamron again. And what I have in this box is yeah, a Tamron, another Tamron lens, and I'm just going to, I guess, I'm not doing unboxing here. I'm just going to show you what I got here. And this is not exactly a replacement for 20-40mm lens that I had in my previous video, but this is APS-C size. Yes, it's not a full frame because I want to use this lens on this camera. APS-C is what that sensor is, and I think this will work perfectly, or at least I hope it would. I mean, as far as the range and everything goes, it's probably even more than I need. But according to other reviewers or people that know what they are talking about optics wise, and well, in general, I guess there is a lot of good reviews about this lens. So everyone kind of says that it is a good lens. So they focus, autofocus, and everything with Sony cameras is just amazing. It's an f2.8 lens again, so it will get more light. Yes, I could use this lens on this camera, but it will cut off a part of the sensor, and that's not something that I kind of want to do. So this lens is probably going to live most of the time on, have a life on my APS-C sensor camera. And a good reason to go with Tamron again, it's the price point. These are fairly affordable lenses. They are not, well, they are not cheap, but they are cheaper than Sony lenses for sure. and they occasionally are less. Some percentage, but a little bit less than, for example, Sigma lenses. In any case, I'm giving a chance to Tamron again, and let's just see what's in the box. Well, everyone knows what's in the box. It's a lens. I guess I'm going to have a look at this lens, and I'm going to basically say a couple of things, and those couple of things are going to be whether I find this lens to be what people say it is, or it's just not going to be. It's either going to be or not going to be. So I guess that's what it is. And again, for the last time, I'm not talking about optical performance. It's just all appearances, mechanics, material quality, and such. Nicely packed, by the way. Nicely packaged lens. And here it is. That's a Tamron 17-70 f2.8 APS-C, and of course it's an APS-C size lens, so it's not as large as a full frame. It's a fairly heavy lens compared to even this one. This one is composite, and I wonder if this one is composite or metal. It seems like it feels like metal, but I don't think it is. I think it's not a metal construction. So a zoom lens, 17-70 millimeters for APS-C, times 1.5 for a full frame, but this is not supposed to go on a full frame sensor. So if you have anything with high megapixel, 40 or something like that, 30 megapixels and such area that this lens is going to cover on that sensor is probably good enough for at least for 4K videos and such. It looks beautiful. It looks as good as any other lens that I have seen before. Like I said, it's hard to tell if it's metal or composite. I think it is. It's really, these days it's super hard on some of the materials. It's super hard to say what they are. There's nothing wrong with the plastics. Some of them are high quality and such, and there's a benefit to using plastics for lenses. In any case, it's not a. I mean, it's a tall lens. It's not that big of a diameter wise. There's a lot of glass in the front. The flange again has a rubber seal, and this lens in general is weather sealed. Well, not exactly weather sealed, but dust and whatever specifications say. It's not as bad as some of Sigma lenses. Again, Sigma lenses occasionally don't have enough seals and such. I have a first-hand experience with a Sigma lens that had dust inside of the optics almost instantly. This lens has two rings. Again, there's no aperture ring here, unfortunately. It's got the zoom ring right here up in front. It's a large and wide, and there's a focus ring right here. So the first ring that you touch is actually your focus, and the second one is the zoom. So like I said, the zoom ring is wider and the focus ring is narrow, and they are more or less leveled flush with the surface of the lens, so they're not sticking out, unlike, for example, on this Sony lens. These rings are really high above the barrel, I guess, about at least a millimeter or 2 millimeters, so that you kind of catch them, and they are stepped diameters, so any of these rings are not this. Well, I guess the aperture and the zoom are kind of the same diameter, but the focus is a bigger diameter, so you kind of like, if you're not looking and doing something in dark with closed eyes, you can tell the difference. These, you can tell the difference by touching them, by the width of the rings. Like I said, they are different. So yeah, that's a fairly good thing to have, because you can tell the difference by touching them with your fingers, which one is narrow, which one is a wide ring. You can easily distinguish those, but they are not sticking up or anything. No aperture ring, no other buttons, by the way. There's nothing here, no. And that's the thing that I don't like about, really not a fan of no button lenses, because sometimes you have to switch from especially the focus, you have to switch from manual to automatic. And naturally the aperture ring is a nice thing to have in many situations. I don't use it as much as maybe some other people do, but this one doesn't have, this lens doesn't have any buttons, any switches, nothing like that. And like I said, I really wish it had at least a switch for the focus, but it doesn't. If your camera doesn't have any switches for the focus, that you kind of are stuck with electronics, going into menus and switching that. In the menus, or if you can program a button, that's an option, but I really like the idea of having a switch in Lumix, for example, S5 and similar, even G9 that I had before, they have a dedicated switch for the focus. This lens, like I said again, doesn't have any. This lens doesn't have any writings on the front of the element, and the glass is pretty much taking all of the diameter in the front of the lens. It's a large glass, you have to really keep that protected. Comes with a protective cap and the hood, so which is nice. It's not a lot of a plastic, but Canon for some reason just does not like to include this with the lens. You have to buy this separate and pay. If you want to buy an original, genuine item, then it's not that cheap. In any case, so what else can we cover with this lens? I really don't like this kind of silver, but it's got a hint of a gold ring. I don't like that color. It's just not really, I guess, clicking with me. I don't know why they keep using it, but I guess that's a style. Not a fan of this color, I guess. That's the thing. If it was something else, I would. But it doesn't really bother me much. But I'm just making notes of things that are. The question is why. The back side, of course, it's got contacts and all. It's all fully automatic lens, so in a sense that everything is electronically controlled here, except for the zoom. It's a manual zoom. And I already mentioned that it's got a ring here, a seal, which is a good thing. Okay, let's get to the rest of what I can see and find as far as this lens goes. And I guess the main thing that the whole, like, the center point of the previous video was the zoom that did not feel right, that I didn't like. And this, so let's talk about zoom here. The barrel extends, not a lot, but not a little either. So this extension is about 20-25 millimeters, about an inch for those who operate in an imperial system. It's not little, it's not a lot, and it's a single barrel extension. It's not a double, as you can, for example, see on this lens. It's got two steps when you extend it. As far as the noises, I think I should not really complain about this one. It's actually not terrible at all. It's not easy. Well, it's not easy in the sense that it's not loose. It doesn't feel loose. It's got a nice amount of resistance to it, right? It just stays where you set it. Like if you set somewhere in the middle, whatever, 50 millimeters, and bumping into this, well, it still produces a movement. But like this ring, if you set it like I said, about 50 millimeters here, and if you touch this ring, it's actually not loose at all. So it's sitting, the lens is sitting at 50, for example, like this now, and it's not loose at all. So I like this much better than that 220-240. So like I said, I don't know what the deal was with that lens, but this one is definitely different. So the last thing to mention is this focus ring, and this is the noise that it makes, or a sound that it makes. I would say this is a nicely turning ring. I really don't have anything bad to say about it. It's nice. It's well dampened. It's got a nice resistance to it. It's got a nice feel to it, and like I said, the zoom is also nice, and it's not positively locking, but it's pretty much, it stays where you put it. And here's unfair comparison. My favorite thing, unfair comparison. This is a Canon lens. This one has 3 rings. We'll go for the one that is focused, and just to see how this sounds. And I really, honestly, there is not much difference. It's even hard to tell what the difference is, because there is really no difference. And this is one of my favorite lenses, by the way. This is probably especially this ring, that clicking noise, this is just so amazing. It's hard to really describe the positive feel that you get from this clicking ring. This is just beautiful. In any case, this is Canon. It's not really meant to be in this video. So I've done this before just for the fun of it. I'm going to compare, I guess, let you hear the sound of a Sony lens focus ring sound. And there you go. Out of all these lenses, I think it's really hard to distinguish them. And I guess in conclusion of this video, do I like this lens? Yes, I do. And actually I feel much better about this lens compared to 20-40. It's everything is nice here. I really cannot complain. As far as mechanics go, everything seems to be lubricated nicely. Everything has a nice feel. There is no crunchiness, there is no grinding noises, there is nothing like that. There is nothing to really complain. I'm surprised, and I guess I gave a chance to Tamron and it did not disappoint me. So this is definitely different from 20-40. Should I try 20-40 again? I don't know. Well, I guess you can have an input and write something. Give another chance to 20-40, buy another lens and see if it's a different copy, if it's a better copy. It feels nice, rings are all good, there's no noises that I wouldn't like, there is no loose feel to the zoom, there is no loose feel to focus ring. There's a bit of a noise inside of it, since I think it's got a vibration compensation, this VC. Those are all good things about this lens. Not so good is that it doesn't have any buttons or switches. Again, this doesn't have any lock-in at any position, not even when the barrel is retracted all the way. It's not going to sag. That's another test that I like doing. Nothing sags if you try to do that. Can we really affect the zoom by pushing the barrel? Well, yes, but it's not as easy. This resists pretty good compared to 20-40 again. So is this lens better than 20-40 in mechanics? And I would definitely say yes. Things to complain about: no locking, doesn't lock anywhere as far as the zoom goes. There is no aperture ring, I guess I would like to have one, and there is no buttons at all. And mainly I would have wanted a switch for the focus, manual, automatic, but there's nothing here, no buttons, no switches, nothing at all. Am I going to miss those? Well, not sure, probably not. So having switches on lenses is kind of important, at least one switch that allows you to go from autofocus to manual focus. That's convenient. And any other rings that are missing on this lens, well, I don't use, for example, aperture ring as much as some people say that it is used by them. Just to throw this out there, there's this pancake Lumix lens that is like a bottom feeder, bottom line, like a basic. It's almost a kit lens for Lumix cameras, but it's collapsible, it's tiny, it's got f whatever. It's good enough for basic situations, but even this lens has a switch for AF and MF. So this one has, this lens has, this one doesn't. That's the one that I would be missing, I guess, occasionally. So I guess this is it for this video. I should say that Tamron did not disappoint me this time as far as appearances, mechanics, and feel of the lens. I think I like it, and I think I want to keep it. I will put it now on this camera. Optical performance, I'm not going to talk about that because that's a different field of expertise. Do I recommend this lens as far as mechanics and all? Yeah, there is nothing to complain about. Everything is pretty good on this. It's a good lens, I guess. And I guess I should have mentioned this in the beginning, that the threads for filters are 67 millimeters on this lens, and look at that. There is a Tamron UV filter, UV or not, but it's going to protect the front element, stop dust from accumulating and such. So not a bad idea to use protective filter. So I'm going to put this on, and just because I like doing that, it's not a bad idea. Is it going to degrade optical performance? Well, you're not going to notice any difference, that's for sure. And there you go. It's a nice lens. I like it. Go get one. And I guess a little bit of extra to this video, I just switched the lenses. This is a Sigma 16mm f1.4. One of those popular lenses for APS-C Sony, APS-C size cameras, I guess. And what I wanted to mention, a couple of things, I guess. First of all, it's metal heavy, but this focus ring has the best feel ever. Out of all the lenses that I experienced in my life, what it means by saying the best feel ever, this ring makes no sound at all. Like there is zero sound, just zero sound period. It just glides like on air, and it's got a nice feel, nice resistance to it. I guess this is as close to perfection as you can possibly get, unless, I don't know, I've never tried expensive lenses that are $5,000 a piece.